Welcome, everybody, to the Independent Voice Talk Show. This is a talk show where everybody can be heard and we examine the news of the day from different points of view. Today, I have with me Ashleigh Renard. She is the author of Swing and an expert, would you say a sex expert, among other things?
I would say I'm an expert in common sense. But millions of people have enjoyed my common sense to improve their communication in the bedroom. Yes, it is true.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we're really excited to have you here today on one of our inaugural episodes. The Independent Voice encourages each of us to be independent of thought, where we can discuss current topics of the day. And today we're going to be talking about sexual freedom in 2024, where we've been and where we're headed. And I think we can agree that having an active consensual sex life is healthy. I know I've read your book, so I, am on the same page with you about that. But do you think, women and men in the US today are free?
Such good questions, Michelle. And I would say no. Most people in this country right now are not free intellectually or emotionally or sexually. I think that all three of those things take a measure of self-awareness and willingness to go off the beaten path, and also ask yourself what beliefs you hold actually belong to you and actually should be taken forward in your life. So I wrote the book Swing, and I made a video called How to Keep Monogamy Hot Part 1 about 4 years ago. And I didn't even know what part 2 was going to be, but it went viral. And the advice was talk to your partner about what time of the day they prefer. Michelle, quite simply, millions of people in this country had been having sex with their partner for years, but had never talked about it. Like they had never actually spoken about it. Listen, just like reading and figure skating or hobbies of mine, sex is a hobby of mine. It's something that I really enjoy as a human. Even as a child, I was so fascinated with like the anatomy of it. My favorite thing to do as a 10-year-old was corner a friend's mom on a Saturday afternoon and ask her everything about intimacy. I'd be like, what about birth control? What about an IUD? What about, right? And I've always wanted to get to the bottom of it. There are a lot of people that have so many taboos, Michelle, that they are so afraid to talk about it. Or there's this idea that if they talk about it, that means there's something wrong if it doesn't just work automatically. I think the idea that sex will work automatically if you like each other is a myth of the patriarchy. And it is put in place so that women will not have sex before marriage, so men can have a wife who is pure or as pure as possible, because that's the only reason that the only way that sex hurts people is by somehow women, if they have a lot of it, they have some sort of declining balance in the patriarchy's eyes,
And
right?
sex is the most natural thing in the world. It really is, a human right. And going into the other rights, who's trying to control us and why? Now we have, the birth control, the reproductive rights, and just the purity vows, the incels. I'm going through this like
It
laundry list
is.
of things that
It's
I
all
know.
of these things that are trying to put shame around something that we have said as humans this is natural.
Yeah.
And the religious right really has a problem with people being proud, really has a problem with women choosing who they want to have sex with. And having choice throughout their life, having choice throughout their month, whatever it is, to have to the freedom to stay not pregnant, right? Because consenting to intimacy is not consenting to impregnate. I can't even say the word. Being impregnated. You know what I mean? It's not. And I think that there are a few different patriarchal things at play here, trying to reduce, especially the freedom of women to stay not pregnant, right? Like to access birth control and to have a reproductive safety and access to procedures that may help, especially if the pregnancy isn't progressing. But I think so much of it is because we are afraid to actually talk about the diversity in sexual preferences, Michelle.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that mainstream Christians have been taught: men like sex way more than women, right? So in patriarchy, even if we weren't raised in a real Christian household, we've all been kind of bathed in this, that men like sex more than women. So in a lot of marriages, when there is some sort of discrepancy as far as desire or compatibility, so often both people, if this is a heterosexual relationship, the man will think I'm right and she's wrong, and the woman will think he's right and I'm wrong. Okay, so, but his preference could be, maybe he likes being dominant, maybe he likes being really submissive, maybe he likes this, maybe he likes that. But there isn't a problem with what either person has, but the incompatibility could be just that they don't have vocabulary to talk about what their preferences are. He just thinks he's horny. And he just thinks what makes him horny would make everybody horny, right? And why doesn't it make her horny too? It really is wild.
Yeah. And we know birth rates are down, but I do feel that it's important for us all to make our own choices regarding our reproductive calendar or timeline. And just even how like late in life women can have children is a thing to, to be aware of. Everything's changing now that we're living longer. But I wanted to talk to you about the idea of sex transmutation. I know I put it in the notes. Did you look it up by any chance? It's based on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Chapter 11. Oh, you brought the book. Okay.
I have it right there. I went and got it off my bookshelf, and I was like, let's review Chapter 11. Tell me, what do you think of it, Michelle? Because you put it on the list. Where are you with it?
Well, I just feel that sex and money are really deeply connected. And to have, soul intimacy relationships, can bring each to a higher level. So it brings out, your natural abundance. So I guess in like simple terms, like have a lot of sex and you'll be more abundant, or, be able to like be in the top of your game and have money. And again, I guess we've heard this over and over when it comes to men, but for women, it's the same, right?
Okay, so I would think, because there are a few things in this with the sexual transmutation. Okay, so, and for me, even as a young girl, I could have multiple orgasms by myself by the time I was like 7 years old, Michelle. So like the transmutation, the actual physical and energetic experience of having that kind of pleasure, that like, for me, it almost feels like meditation. So it's always been this like really like cosmically, karmically charged type thing, right? That I always like knew how to access in my own body. So then connecting with then boyfriends when I was a young adult felt really great, because like I had this wonderful thing that I could tap into, and then I could show them how to tap into it with me. So I swear I had more good sex in high school than some people have in their whole lives. And this is why I love sex, because it's always been like a meditation. It's always been like a prayer. It is something that now in my solo play, Michelle, when I am casting for abundance, or when I'm getting really clear or wanting to jump timelines, one of the ways I can lock it in, and there are other ways too, like a playlist on repeat or a certain song on repeat for like a period of time, like an hour or two, like one song to just stay in, like if I'm trying to stay in a vibe. Something else, if I journal and visualize, and then I have solo play and I have some orgasms while I'm still in that vibe, that is something for me that doing it with a partner could be fun too, but on my own, that's one of the ways that like, that's one of my goal setting. That's one of my secrets of success right there, Michelle.
I love it. Oh my goodness. That is really, really inspiring. I hope others can be inspired by that as well, because I am just blown away. Okay, so there are just some other things I had on the list that I wanted to go through because they're in the news right now. All this trad wife propaganda. I don't know if you're into that at all.
I am so familiar with trad wife. I'm so familiar with trad wife because I have people close to me who were some of the early momfluencers on Instagram. And I happened to homestead and homeschool in that period of time where it wasn't all just religious people and it wasn't for Instagram. Okay. So I have some like trad mom roots in some ways. I homeschooled my children with Waldorf homeschooling, right? So I understand the desire, especially when you have little kids, to want to slow down and to have your own schedule and not have the outside world telling you what you should be doing. By documenting your life for 18 hours a day on social media, you're sort of going contrary to that off the grid thing you're trying to do. So traditional momfluencer is it's an oxymoron. And the amount of work that has to actually go into showcasing a life that looks so natural is it's extraordinary. It's like if you could see the behind the scenes of any of these big momfluencers, you would see that in most cases, I think things in the house are not like they are. Not like they are. And it is putting us behind from a feminist perspective in a huge way as well, because it is glorifying and romanticizing something that's not a match for everyone. And even these people who do it, quite often they have a ton of money funding that lifestyle, right? That I think we just need to be talking about those parts too, because it's not just like, a goat and some daisies and then like,
right.
You can pay your
I'm
bills.
not sure how authentic it is, but all of the, reality TV shows, the old school ones, they were never like really completely authentic. It was always, some like manipulated to a little bit of degree.
Always, right? Because it's always scripted. And I was even working on making a reality TV show for myself, and we scripted out the whole season before we even found anybody. Like it's all that's Hollywood, baby. The story you want to tell before you even find the characters.
I guess it's entertaining, and it's just alarming to me in the way that, going back the last 10 years, everything has just been a little bit more conservative, but maybe it always has been. Do you see like a lot of the sexual conservatism like just coming up, or has it always been there?
I think that there is an overt push to try to make women especially more sexually conservative, like Harrison Butker, and saying like, diabolical lies, you college going women. I think it's trying to romanticize this old family ideal that had like, a lot of women very depressed or committing suicide, or way back, poisoning their husbands because they couldn't get divorced. Okay. Because that's always something when divorce isn't legal, women actually poison their husbands more often. It's like people need a way out, right? And it's like, don't just think that staying together is the best path. I think that they're trying to push women back. And then at the same time, there are these women and men, and we are always follow our trans leaders and our queer leaders in this, in saying, hey, I'm not mainstream, but I am not pretending that I'm supposed to fit back into that box. People who are poly, people who are queer, people who are in ethical non-monogamy, or people who just say, I'm never having kids, or I'm never getting married, just these things that, like I said, our queer leaders and brothers and sisters pushed the envelope for that, so then straight people could be like a little off of vanilla, right, and have that space to be that.
I was going to say sometimes we have to go back to go forwards, but I feel like there is a really well-rounded world, and everyone just needs to have an open mind and let everyone be free sexually and otherwise.
It only is a problem if your system depends on the imagined need for a daddy patriarch, which patriarchy does. It says like sky daddy patriarch, and then the church preacher daddy patriarchs, then the daddy patriarchs, and then if you get to be a wife to one of those, then you get to have the rest of the babies for the patriarch. When we are thinking that way, then pairing up birthing is the priority. When we say, hey, not every human's here to be a parent in this lifetime. Not everybody's here to get married. Not everybody's going to own a dog. Not everybody is going to travel to South America. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of different ways to be human and to live out your 100 years. And it doesn't all have to look the same. The reason that the religious right is trying to legislate their idea is because fewer and fewer women are choosing that. And there are, like you said, there are incels. There are involuntarily celibate men. And instead of saying, what could these men do to like find someone to date, they're saying, how do we keep women marrying and breeding?
I know the incels could be nicer in a way, right?
but they think the problem is this is the rhetoric that's spread around, is that the problem is that women are not like their mothers used to be. Yeah. And if women were more like that, then they could get a woman. But women are not, they're not okay anymore. Like women are fractured because they're not like their mothers. And it's a very gross and broad generalization that it has that one to do with the other, but it goes back to mommy issues usually. It goes back to mommy issues usually, and then it's projected onto, a future partner.
Wow. Well, this has been really illuminating, and I just love talking to you. But I want to hear about what you're working on and what's next for you.
Okay, so my next memoir is coming out. It's called Split, a Memoir in Pieces, and it's coming out in 5 parts. So part 1 comes out this fall. Every part is going to have a paperback, an ebook, and an audiobook. And then at the end, there's going to be a special edition hardcover split that contains all 5 parts, and there's going to be an audiobook for that. Also, I've wanted to do this since I left skating and came into publishing 5 years ago. I've launched an author services agency where we are taking authors from outline or first draft to beautifully self-published book in 6 to 12 months. The thing that I'm really great at, Swing came out 3 years ago. I've made $1 million from that book, Michelle. Okay,
amazing.
$1 million.
Congratulations.
100,000 of those dollars are book sales, and the other 900,000 are other things, physical products, workshops, all kinds of things. And this is what I'm really passionate about teaching authors about, because even if a book sells really well, Swing's not paying my mortgage. It's not, right? Like it is something that I made, and I am so excited to write more memoirs. And if I've learned anything from Taylor Swift, it's that your super fans will buy 10 versions of your same thing. And this is one of the reasons that I'm releasing it in different pieces, in different parts. Every part is going to have its own cover and title and everything. So I'm experimenting with that. I'm experimenting with this direct to consumer thing. I've already done it with one book. What if I take my 90,000 word story, and what if I break it up into sections? What would my audience think of that?
Well, where can our listeners and viewers reach you? I'd love to be able to like share this with people.
On Instagram. Reach out on Instagram, say hi. And I also have a highlight there that says the agency, and it talks about our author services agency. I've started it with my favorite editor and one of my best friends, Jamie McGillen. So it's Renard McGillen Author Services. And we are so happy. We have memoirists and novelists we already have signed who we're taking through. All of them are first-time authors too.
Amazing.
Taking them through.
Oh, that sounds really, really, really cool. Well, I will definitely check that out as well. But thank you again for coming on. This has been an absolute delight.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Yeah, I am just really, really excited to talk about these issues more and have, everybody's voice be heard. And that's what this is about. So please refer people, and yeah, let's keep in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Michelle.